Welcome to Authentic Church. We're so glad you're joining us for this message. We hope it blesses you. Don't forget to hit subscribe to stay up to date with all our latest sermons. Come on, let's get into it.
And here these noblemen, these wise men were looking at the world around them and saying, there's got to be more than this. You know, sometimes we look at the world today, we see the wars waging, we see the crime, we see the brokenness around us. And I know I have many times asked myself, is there more to life than just this? As we read the story of the Magi, I'd like to share with you 3 lessons that I've learned from their story, if you can. 3 lessons from 3 wise men. The first thing that they teach me is this, that if you want change, you've got to be a seeker of truth. You know, there's an old saying that says, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got, yeah? You know, one of the things that I've found in my own life is that when I want change, when I want things to be different, I have to be willing to go outside of myself and ask the question, is there a truth beyond me that can help me understand myself and understand where I'm going? And so these truth seekers, if you like, these wise men, they started to search the prophecies of ancient Jewish scholars who were trying to understand what was beyond themselves. One of the most famous was a man named Daniel. Some of you know him because he's got a book in the Old Testament, and he actually predicts the coming of the Messiah. And so they read through his prophecies and they said, this is a truth that we've never come across in our own writings. This is a truth that goes beyond what we already know. Let's go and find out. You know, I believe that the first step to change is the willingness to step beyond what you know into the unknown. To step towards a truth that perhaps you haven't considered, but may well lead you to something you need. And so these wise men went on a journey to seek out the truth, the one that was called the Messiah. Actually, Jesus said of himself when he was much older and he was preaching, he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus actually introduces himself as the truth that is outside of ourselves, that leads us to fully knowing who we are and who we are meant to be. And so these magi went on a journey. They went on a journey to seek truth. Many of you might know the famous author C.S. Lewis. He wrote the Narnia Chronicles. He was a famous Oxford literary scholar, and he was also a very well-known atheist in his time. He didn't believe in God, and he was quite vocal about letting people know that there was no God. Until one day, in his quest for understanding himself and understanding the world around him, he got talking with his good mate, J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now, J.R.R. Tolkien was actually a Christian, and he said, maybe what you're looking for is not in the void of there is no God, but maybe it's in a space where we Christians say that there is truth found in God. And he encouraged C.S. Lewis to explore the possibility that there may be something beyond what he understood. C.S. Lewis, of course, became a Christian and became a very big advocate of following Jesus. And that really, it came about because one man who found himself wanting in an area of his life was willing to step beyond what he knew to seek truth in a space where he didn't fully understand. Some of us at this Christmas season may need to step beyond the truth we know into the space we don't understand. And Jesus introduces himself as that truth that we can explore. The second thing that the Magi teach us is this, that finding truth and understanding truth, who we will call Jesus for the sake of this conversation, is a journey. It's not a search on Google. You know, very often we approach Jesus or we approach the Christian faith in this way of like, I have a problem, I need an answer. If Jesus can give me the answer, then I'll be willing to say yes. The problem with approaching Jesus in that manner is that if it's a transactional approach, once we get the answer or we think we have the answer, then we don't really have a need for Jesus. We put him away just like we put our computers away or we put the search engine away until the next time we have a problem, and then we go and search up for an answer. Well, look, it's a good starting point, but you really don't find the full meaning of what Jesus brings to your life until you're willing to go on a journey. Jesus said, actually, following me is not easy. Following me can be quite hard. He even warned his disciples, some of you might lose your life for following me. Many of you will lose your family and your friends for following me. But he said, if you follow me, I'll lead you to an experience of life that goes beyond this physical experience. He said it this way in John. He said that if you die, but you believe in me, you will also live. Meaning this life is not the only life we can experience. There is a life beyond this life. That in following Jesus, though we may experience hard times now, there is coming a day when Jesus will introduce us to the way existence was meant to be in the presence of our Creator God. These magi went on a journey. They didn't live down the road from Jesus. They weren't in the same town. In fact, they weren't even in the same region. The Magi lived over 1,500 kilometers away from where Jesus was born. Many experts say that it would have taken them close to 2 to 3 months to travel by camel with their caravan to Jesus. You know, it would be like you or me setting off on a journey from Brisbane to Melbourne to go and visit somebody. Somebody you've never seen, you've never heard of, other than you read an ancient prophecy that said, if you go to this town at this time and follow that star, you might find some truth. Here, these seekers of truth went on a journey which was hard. It was long. It was dangerous. But they were willing to go on the journey because they knew at the end of the journey was where they would find the fullness of who they were meant to be and what life was really about. I don't know where you are in your journey of life, but I would encourage you, if life has been hard to you, and that's probably most of us, when you're following Jesus, the good news is this: even in the hard times, you can know you're not alone. Even in the hard times, you can know that you're not abandoned. Even in the hard times, you can know there's a hope for more. And so these magi teach us that as we seek truth, we need to be prepared to go on a journey, not just do a Google search. And sometimes the journey will be up and sometimes it will be down, but it always leads to our full purpose as we were created to be. And the third thing that I found in this magi story was this, that if you're prepared to seek the truth and you're prepared to go on a journey, sooner or later you have to be willing to submit your control to the one who knows you best. I don't know about you, but I'm a bit of a control freak about my life. I like to know where I'm going and I like to know how I'm getting there. My wife's an even bigger control freak than me. She likes to know where I'm going, where she's going, and where everybody else is going. And she likes to tell them how to get there. We're all a little bit like that, aren't we? We like to know what's going on in our life and we like to know how we're getting there. What was interesting about the Magi is they were wealthy, they were successful, they were powerful. But when they came to baby Jesus, the story says that they bowed down and they worshipped him. They actually called this baby a king. These powerful men that didn't need to bow down to anybody recognized that in Jesus, if they were able to submit themselves to him, that he would bring fullness and purpose to their existence. They bowed down and they worshipped. They gave up their own right to choose and to decide for the sake of the salvation that would come through Jesus. In fact, they brought 3 gifts. Maybe you remember the 3 gifts. What was it? The purple hippopotamus, the bag of nappies, and some baby formula. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you missed the video at the beginning of the service. It was quite humorous. No, they brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Gold symbolizes royalty. Gold was a gift you give to a king. These kings, if you like, these powerful men recognized that there was one more powerful than them, one that could lead them to their destiny. Frankincense was a spice that was used in the worship of the divine. And so very often when people of Jesus' day would want to worship God, they would burn frankincense. It was like an incense. And they would burn frankincense as worship of the divine. These wise men, these powerful men recognized that there was something about this Jesus that deserved to be worshipped. He was more than just a baby. He was in fact God himself. And they brought myrrh. Myrrh was an embalming ointment that you put on people when they had just died. Myrrh spoke of what was to come. We all know the story of Jesus dying on the cross. That didn't happen till 33 years later. But these wise men were, if you like, foretelling the real purpose of Jesus' human existence was to actually suffer and die for the sins of the world so that we could all know forgiveness. These wise men actually gave up their wisdom. They actually gave up their knowledge, they gave up their control of their lives, and they worshipped the one who they believed would bring salvation to many. There's a lady named Corrie ten Boom. She was a Dutch lady. She came from a Dutch family, lived during World War II, 1940s. And her family were devout Christians. And when they saw what was happening to many of the Jews during the Holocaust, they worked very hard to help save some of the Jews by hiding them and helping them to escape the Nazis. Eventually, Corrie and her sister were caught by the SS Gestapo and they were put into a concentration camp themselves. They were stripped of their dignity. They were humiliated. They were starved. They were beaten. And they watched people die in front of them, be tortured and persecuted by the SS guard. But all through that time, Corrie held on to her faith that she knew that Jesus was the truth that she had been seeking, that she knew that her following Jesus would be hard, but if she just stuck with him, he would see her through to the end. And she also knew that if she let Jesus control her life, he would bring her to a place that was far beyond what she could achieve in her own existence. Well, World War II ended and Corrie ten Boom was released. Unfortunately, her sister died in the concentration camp. But after that time, she actually started to speak. She started to be invited to speak about her experience. And one of the things she learned while she was in the concentration camp was forgiveness. The ability to forgive those who have done wrong to you. And she would go all over the world talking to people about forgiveness, saying that because Jesus has forgiven me, I can now forgive those who have hurt me. Well, this was a nice message and lots of people responded to this message until one day Corrie ten Boom was speaking at a church in Munich. And as she finished her talk, she was approached by a man who she instantly recognized. He was one of the SS guards that had been in the concentration camp that her and her sister had been imprisoned. As she saw him, all the memories of her experience flooded back in a moment. And she felt that deep hatred and humiliation and hurt that this man had caused her and her sister. And he spoke very joyfully of having met Jesus. And he said, Jesus has forgiven me and Jesus has saved me and Jesus has restored me. Isn't it wonderful that even though once we were enemies, now we can be friends because of Jesus' forgiveness? And everything inside of Corrie ten Boom said, no. You don't understand. I don't know how to do that. But in that moment, she said, Jesus, I need your forgiveness because I don't know how to forgive in this moment. And she still felt pain and she still felt heartbroken. And she couldn't even reach out to shake his hand. She just stood there with her hands by her side. And once again, she said, Jesus, I can't forgive this man myself. Will you forgive him through me? And she tells the story that as she prayed that prayer, she reached out her hand and it was like a current went through her body and went into the man. And she said, instantly I felt joy, an overwhelming sense of joy. I instantly felt an overwhelming sense of relief. It was like the burden of my pain and my hurt and the horrors of the concentration camp were taken away, and instead it was replaced by a love for this man who had done me so much harm. What Corrie ten Boom said is this, that as I learned to forgive, truly forgive as Jesus forgives, I learned that forgiveness is the way that Jesus heals the world. You know, when we look around the world, we see so much brokenness. We see so many people that need putting back together. Maybe your life needs putting back together. And what the Christmas story says is that there is a God who loves humanity. There is a God that wants to offer us all forgiveness for the choices we've made and the life we've lived. And in doing that, not only does it put us back together, but it actually puts the world back together. See, John 3:16 so famously says, God so loved the world that he sent his son to die, so that if anybody believes, he will not perish but have eternal life. What these magi learned 33 years before it actually came to pass was that if you want to change the world, you first have to be prepared to step out of your comfort zone and seek truth. And the truth that Jesus introduces is himself. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life, and if you'll come to me, I will give you that life too. The Magi also understood they had to go on a journey. I'm not selling you a quick fix to your life. I promise you, there are days when I wonder if it's worth following Jesus. There are days when you can question your life and say, there's got to be something more than this. But what Jesus says is this, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Yes, there'll be trouble, but I'm going to carry it with you. He said, I'll never leave you and I'll never forsake you. He didn't say he'll do away with your problems. He just said he'll walk through them with you. And as he walks through them, what he does is he teaches us character. He teaches us patience and joy and forgiveness and love and mercy and kindness, all the things that all of us really need. And as we go on this journey, what we do is we come to a point where we recognize that he actually knows us better than we know ourselves. If we just let go, if we would just say, I can't do this anymore, God. I've got no more answers. Will you just show me where? Will you show me how? Will you show me what? Will you show me when? That what Jesus does is he leads us on a journey towards our true purpose. And that is to be children of the living God. That is to be known and to be loved and to be embraced by the one who created you. I don't know what your story is. I don't know what your journey has been like to this point. I don't know if you believe in Jesus or whether it's the first time you're even contemplating it. But at this Christmas, I want to encourage you that as you reflect on your life, as you reflect on the things that have been and the things that are yet to be, would you take a moment to reflect on the truth that is Jesus? The forgiveness that is Jesus, the love that is Jesus.
Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you were blessed by this sermon. If you got something out of it, don't forget to give us a thumbs up or share it with a friend, and make sure you hit subscribe to stay up to date with all our latest messages. To give to the work of Authentic Church or to learn more about getting connected, you can follow the links in our description. See you next time.